Well, as summer winds to a close and pastures begin to go dormant, weed management might not be on the top of your mind when it comes to cattle production. However, fall can be one of the most effective times to control some of the toughest rangeland invaders. Market Journal's Mike Straub caught up with Nebraska Extension educator Ben Beckman to learn more.
Fall can be one of the most effective times to control some of the toughest rangeland weeds.
When we're looking at fall control options, specifically for herbicide options, it's really important that we have an accurate idea of our plants, because knowing what we have is going to make a big decision on what we do for control. So this time of the year, we're really looking at hammering on 3 different types of plants, our biennials. So a really good example of this would be like our thistle species. Those are plants that have a rosette that kind of grows here in the early part of or late part of the year, fall. And then next year we'll shoot up a seed stalk and a flower stalk and the noticeable part. But if we can hit it right now when it's a rosette, we get really good control of those plant species. So another species that we might be looking at controlling in the fall are our winter annuals. Those would be some species like henbit, a lot of our mustard species. Downy brome's a really good example of our winter annual too, and those are species that are going to be really similar to our biennials, but basically have a little bit shorter lifespan to them. So they're going to germinate here in the fall, going to overwinter, and then they're going to be up and producing seed really early in the spring. They kind of try to beat out everything else, is kind of their strategy. And then the last one that we're really looking at controlling are our perennial species. And this time of the year, our perennials are, because those plants live for several, seasons, for multiple years, they are trying to pull down reserves into their roots during that fall period, really build up those reserves, because they have to make it through the winter without any really photosynthesizing going on. And so we've got kind of a perfect storm there where they're pulling reserves down to the roots. So if we can get herbicide on them while they're doing that, it's pulling that systemic herbicide down to where we want to get control, and we're going to get great action. The other thing is that if we can hit them now with a herbicide option, then they have to go through the stress of winter after having the stress of control measure on it. So
rather than spraying whole pastures, spot treating rosettes or patches of leafy spurge and thistles can be far more cost effective and environmentally responsible than blanket applications. As you treat, take a moment to record what you sprayed, where, and when.
I always recommend spot treating when we can, just because there's a lot of really beneficial plants that we can have in pastures. And if we're doing a blanket herbicide treatment, unless things are really bad, we're hitting a lot of really good species as well as taking out the nasty ones. So if we can do a spot treatment and just hit the plants that we really want to, we're not expending a lot of money and labor and time on controlling plants that really aren't a problem. Sometimes we'll have annual plants that pop up. It's part of grazing cycles, part of the drought cycle. A natural system, there's going to be variation. And so it's a little bit of a waste to go after some of those plants if we don't need to. As far as, keeping an accurate map and things like that, when we do have really tough species, I'm thinking especially for things like leafy spurge, Canada the thistle, things like that, where we can get good control on them. But if we get one plant that got left behind, those are noxious weeds for a reason. They produce a ton of seed. They've got really prolific root systems. And so we miss that one plant and all of a sudden that population explodes again. If we can keep track of where those populations are, it helps us go back next year and really look and see, okay, we did a good job of controlling, or, oh, here's a few plants that we missed. We need to stay on this and really get those under control. So, focusing on those areas where we actually need to control, and then having that accurate map so we don't forget a spot. Or we can kind of keep track of, hey, yeah, the patch is getting smaller, we're making some progress, or this really isn't working, it seems like it's expanding, or we've got a new patch over here that we need to take care of.
Fall has enough to keep you busy, but don't overlook the chance to set your pasture up for success next spring. Targeting perennial and biennial weeds while they are vulnerable can reduce long-term herbicide use and boost forage productivity. Reporting for Market Journal, I'm Mike Straub.